Sorry, I was a bit late. It's time for us to start, and we've also formed a quorum. Please invite the officials and the deputations to come in. Perhaps we should confirm the minutes first. Minutes of the meetings held on the 5th of January and the 12th of January, respectively, have already been distributed to you via papers 367 and 368. Now, these minutes are for your scrutiny. Can we have the minutes confirmed? All right, thank you very much. For today's meeting with 18 deputations and individuals to give their comments on the composition of the VSB, in particular to the ratio between veterinary surgeons and non-veterinary surgeons. Apart from the deputations and individuals, this committee has also received 106 submissions from the non-attending deputations and individuals. The submissions have already been distributed to members and the administration via 371/1415 bracket 001 to bracket 103 and bracket 104 to 106. May I welcome the deputations and individuals. In fact, today we have limited time. And today's meeting is very simple. We're only on one issue. 3 minutes doesn't sound too long, but at the last meeting, we could say a lot within 3 minutes. Upon the completion of clause-by-clause scrutiny, some of our colleagues commented on the ratio between vet surgeons and non-vet surgeons. At the moment, the ratio is 2:1, and some colleagues would like to change that ratio to 1:1 between vet surgeons and non-vet surgeons. In order not to block the second reading and third reading of the bill, about 10 days ago, we've identified this meeting for you to air your views. When I mention your name, the timer will start to count the time for you. If you cannot finish within the limited time, you can pass your written submissions to us after the meeting, to the Secretariat. Channel 0 is floor channel. Channel 1 is Cantonese. Channel 2 is English. Channel 3 is Putonghua. When you speak, please use the microphone in front of you. To facilitate simultaneous interpretation, when you speak, please just use one language. Don't mix English and Cantonese together. Otherwise, our interpreters will have difficulties. I'd also like to remind the attendees that they are not protected by the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. Your written submissions are not protected either under that ordinance. I'd also like to remind the deputations and individuals that when you attend meetings in the electoral complex or if you are in the public gallery, you should refer to the security measures. as set out in the notes attached to the letter sent to you. At the moment, you can see the notes in front of you. They're tabled. If necessary, you can obtain a copy from our staff members. First speaker, Dr. Conwell Shiu from China Hong Kong Veterinary Association. Dr. Shiu, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. In fact, as I was in a hurry, I did not write out a script. I actually gave almost all my views on the ratio between vet and non-vets. I would like to maintain that ratio at 2-to-1. At the last meeting, I mentioned one salient point. In 1997, the VSB was set up. When compared with similar bodies or authorities elsewhere in the world, were rather young. So we should refer to the composition of similar overseas bodies. I've already given you the figures. In the UK, the ratio is 35-7, Queensland 5-1, South Africa 2-1, Ontario, Canada 13-5. So for most advanced jurisdictions, the ratio of vet to non-vet is over 2-1 or far larger than 2-1. As for the UK composition, I think that body was established at almost the same time as Hong Kong's. Their ratio is 35-7. In the past 150 years, when they handled cases and managed their vets, they found the ratio all right. At the last meeting, a councillor mentioned that more non-vets included in the board will effectively suppress the excessive fees charged by vets at the moment. Concerning this issue, I'd like to quickly say that there is this claim that some vets charge a higher fee than a medical practitioner for human beings. Well, that's true, because for vets we need more equipment for ultrasound tests, blood tests, etc., etc. So the operational cost for a vet is, say, around 5-fold that of a medical practitioner for human beings. Our surgery fee is $600 or approximately, but in Canada that's $1,200. So if you compare our income per capita, in Canada, they don't exceed us by a fold. But for, say, sterilization surgery, their fees exceed us by a fold. Next, Dr. Nelson Lam. Mr. Chairman, even before the handover, I was already a member of an interest group on animal welfare. I served for 2 terms. That's 10 years. I focus on animal welfare. I'm afraid that vets are charging too high a fee. I lived in the UK for over a decade. I kept dogs. Their vets charge even a higher fee. But those were private clinics. And it's our responsibility to keep our own animals. I sat in the board for 6 years, and I observed that many people cured their own dogs before going to a vet. So, of course, their vets charge a higher fee. The main responsibility should rest with the dog owner, who shouldn't pass all the responsibilities to the vet. Apart from fees and charges, I'd like to say something about the ratio of 2-to-1. I sat on the board for so many years. Usually we handled practical matters. We sometimes sat till 7 p.m. in the evening. for an ordinary person, a lay person, does he actually know the terminology and all the details? And during a VSB hearing, we mainly have lawyers, and the board has its own lawyers. Whether or not it is fair can be determined by the lawyers. So I don't see any special unfairness. So I'd like to retain the ratio of 2 to 1. And then I'm also a practicing barrister. In the Bar Association and the Bar Council, the barristers hear the hearings. The same applies to the Law Society for the solicitors. I'm not favoring the vets, but operations and procedures have been smooth. And if anything is not smooth, it really depends on the particulars of the case. For example, in a case, the cat was put down, and that cat had not obtained any award. So why should somebody else steal that cat from the owner? So for such complications, the hearing may be prolonged. I think I've said enough. I think the ratio of 2 to 1 is correct objectively. Thank you.
Next, Dr. Lawrence Chen. Thank you. I agree that vets should be subject to regulation. I'm a licensed vet. I've served the Jockey Club for 24 years, and I've also been member of the VSB. I was chairman of the Professional Ethics Committee. I've chaired many inquiries. I'm a pet owner. I've got 28 and 22 dogs and cats respectively, and provide a wide range of vet services. Luckily, I've never encountered any unhappy events. I believe the proposed setup of the board is appropriate. As mentioned by colleagues, the ratio is correct. The ratio of 2 to 1 is really a low compared with other countries. I agree that members of the public should be protected when using vet services, but according to my experience in the inquiry board, some vets also complain that they've been treated unfairly. We have many new graduates returning to Hong Kong to practice. They lack clinical experience, and easily they may be subjects of complaints. For these new vets, I think training and education is more important than disciplinary action. Of course, if they really got a misconduct, they should be sanctioned. All members of the board, whether they are elected or appointed, should be neutral and act without fear of favor, and they should, according to the evidence, where there is any conflict of interest, they should excuse themselves from an inquiry. And they all serve on a pro bono basis. They are full-time vets. They have to use their annual leave or their rest days to take part in work of the PIC or IC. And I think we should not challenge the neutrality in inquiries. For the PIC, there are 3 members covering 2 members from the board and also a member of the panel. We have a backlog of cases. If we increase the number, we want to enlarge the size of a PIC. Now, if you're a member of a PIC, you cannot be a member of a future IC. So it is appropriate that we have more vets, and therefore the ratio of 2 to 1 is appropriate. Thank you. Next. Professor Cheng from Veterinary Surgeons Board of Hong Kong. Thank you. In the past 18 years, the board has got various terms of chairman and members. They have been trying to enhance the service quality of vets. and to ensure the professionalism of different specialties. They've devoted a lot of efforts in many areas. They deal with complaints, investigations, and inquiries. They also want to enhance the registration, professionalism, and continuous professional development of vets in Hong Kong. They would like to enhance our standards in these areas to align with international standards. In the past 18 years, we understand that there are more pets in Hong Kong, and the number of vets have increased from 170 to over 700 now. We understand that the board will have a heavier workload. Because vet practice highly specialized now, and therefore we need professional directions, and we need to be more professional so that the board can operate more effectively and efficiently. So when the board discussed with the administration about the amendment to the ordinance, we proposed to enlarge the size of the board to increase the number of vets in the board to provide more support. And we understand that many investigations take time because we are constrained by manpower and other forms of support. Through this bill, we hope that we can maintain the ratio of vet to non-vets in the board at 2:1, so that veterinary service can develop in a professional manner, and we can also enhance the status of vet surgeons in Hong Kong. As mentioned by the previous speakers, most members of the board serve with their own time, and therefore I hope that we can work to enhance the quality of service of vets and the professionalism of this profession. Please support the bill. Thank you. Dr. Kenneth Lam. Thank you. I'd also like to respond to what Professor Chen, Dr. Chen, and Mr. Lam said. I have served the VSB for 6 years. I have dealt with handled a number of cases, and I support the proposed ratio of 2:1 here. I think from a wider perspective, we should understand why there should be lay members in the board. That is to ensure our inquiries are fair and open and transparent, so that they can see that every step in an inquiry is strictly according to the law, with regard for due procedures. As Mr. Lam said, there is a counsel from and also another lawyer from the DFJ as the prosecution, and we've also got a counsel to act as the board's legal advisor. And among the 3 members in IC, usually there are 2 vets and 1 lay members. So there are 4 lay members to 2 vets in inquiry. So the ratio is actually 2:1. And the hearing is open with recording is open to the press. So the process is transparent and open. You want to change the ratio? This will create more difficulties for the profession because professional knowledge is needed. I'm a consultant to the Jockey Club. I am responsible for control. So you need professional knowledge to communicate with other vets. So I urge members to support this very healthy evolution, and we're not asking for a reform. Ms. L. Chen from Society for Abandoned Animals Limited. Thank you. As a member of the Society for Abandoned Animals Limited, I've been in this sector for over 17 years. I've recently encountered vet services as a user of vet services, I support the VSR Amendment Bill 2014, and I agree that the ratio of members of vet to non-vet should remain at 2:1. There will be 6 vets elected by registered veterinary surgeons, and the ratio will be kept at 2:1. Our society is a recognized charitable organizations. We also got animal treatment centers. We've operated for over 10 years. We know the industry well. Dr. Xiu mentioned why the cost of vet services is so high in Hong Kong, and I will not repeat his arguments. Just by increasing the number of lay members in the board will not help to lower fees and charges. And this is also not a reduction of fees, is not an objective of the amendment bill. I am in frequent contact with vet services. I've seen mishandling of sick pets as well. While I can't deny that a minority of practicing vets may not be up to standard, they might have they might be guilty of misconduct. But I think that's the same for other disciplines. We've only got a small number of vets who have violated their professionalism. I'm sure that the board can maintain its position and deal with complaints or about their colleagues in an impartial manner. Vets that have really done wrong should be punished fairly, and I hope that you will not be too sweeping to say that all vets are bad. This is a self-regulated profession, and it has developed healthily. Most pet owners have good rapport with vets. There is mutual trust. With more pets in Hong Kong, there is a great demand for vet services. The number of complaints and their complexity have therefore increased. We understand that some pet owners have waited for a long time for a case to be processed, and there's also pressure on the board. Vet being complained will go on with his practice, and still he has to take care of pets, and while waiting for a case to be heard, he's also under pressure. Ms. Chan, your time is up. Can you give us your speaking notes, please? Okay, thank you. Dr. Patricia Xuan. Thank you. I'm going to speak in English.
Things that we need to consider. Previously, as we mentioned, that with certain possible collusion, if we have more vets on the Veterinary Surgeons Board. Since 1997, as Dr. Chan has mentioned, that it's been done as a voluntary basis. All these vets are on the vet board. They do all this work, and it's actually incredibly hard work on their sort of spare time. There are a few on the panel here. It's Dr. Chan, next to me, Dr. Olivia Chan, Kenneth, and also Lawrence. They're there to uphold the professionalism, they uphold the standards, and also to provide the best we can for the Hong Kong public. And it has worked very well so far, and I think it should be supported. We should also, apart from looking at international veterinary boards, is actually look at the Hong Kong Medical Board, which I'm sure you've looked at. The Hong Kong Medical Board, there are 28 members, of which 4 are lay people. So we're talking 1/7 are lay people. And also with the PIC, the Preliminary Investigation Committee, out of the 10, there are 4 lay people. So that's 40%. And I would like you all to consider that. With regards to one of the points that's been raised, there are a lot of young graduates. They really need our support. And I think the Hong Kong VSB is there to support our young graduates as well. They're there to help our society, and the board is there to help them. And it's very, very important to have more professionals on the board for this purpose. And that's all I want to say.
Next, Dr. Olivia Chen. Good morning. I've got 3 points to share with the BC. First, fees and charges of vets, and second, the time for the board to handle cases, and third, the number of cases. Now, just like other places, large and small animal vets serving large and small animals work on commercial principles. Well, the ultrasound and other equipment will not be supplied to vets at a lower cost, and we're not saying that the cheaper the service, the more professional they are. We want fares to be reasonable and transparent. When a vet has good reputation, he can get the trust of the public, and therefore we can protect pets. If we just look at fees and charges, there is para 17.4 and 75 of the Code of Practice communicated by the board, and I think this is a way to ensure quality and to protect the interest. Now, the time for handling a case, we do understand the feelings of complainants. Even 1 day is too long for them to wait. But you have to understand there are things beyond our control. For instance, a statement, affidavit can take months to reach us. Regarding the PICU, we cannot take things lightly. We have to read all information, and that would mean months.
When a hearing is necessary, we have to arrange 5 to 10 witnesses and other lawyers. So we're talking about many people to appear at the same venue. Here we'd like to enlarge the team such that more professionals will participate in the process to enhance quality. As for transparency, if an office member receives a statutory statement, it will be passed to the complainant and start the complaint procedures. We understand the sentiments of the complainants, but these are court cases, and to a certain extent we have to keep confidentiality. In a telephone call, we cannot verify personal particulars, so we cannot keep privacy. So this has something to do with fairness and impartiality. Let me give you an example. At the moment, the board is a small boat, 3 vet plus 3 non-vet. We want to enlarge the composition. That is 12 to 6. We would like to enlarge the boat. It's the same group of people rowing. We need the non-vets to balance the boat so as to keep pluralistic views. You're just being emotional to destroy the whole profession. You're going to reduce animal welfare, and all along we're trying to interface with the international standards. If you reshuffle the board like this, we'll lose a lot of good vets, and no vet will dare to come to practice in Hong Kong. Well, you have exceeded your time. Can you tell us whether or not you support the ratio 2 to 1? Later. Yes, Dr. Elaine Charlene.
I'm here in strong support today of my colleagues before me, and I believe that the Veterinary Surgeons Board should be comprised of a majority of registered veterinary surgeons with a minimum ratio of 2 to 1. No one can argue that there's a large discrepancy in knowledge, medical knowledge, between members of the profession and the general public, yet lay board members may be outspoken and determined in their positions. Although these positions are well-intentioned, they're often misinformed. Misinformed regulation of a medical board paralyzes medical progress. And I agree wholeheartedly with Dr. Olivia in that simply, if we cannot regulate ourselves as a medical profession, veterinary medicine in Hong Kong will suffer. Veterinarians are trained experts in animal medicine and must charge appropriately and self-regulate for that expertise. I personally have spent 25 years of education and training to become a board-certified specialist in small animal surgery. Surgery is the only aspect of veterinary medicine that I focus on. Pets can now undergo fracture repair surgery, spinal surgery, brain surgery, cancer surgery that improves their quality of life and often extends their life. I must be able to charge appropriately for that expertise. I have spent my life training to perform specialized procedures quickly and with high success rates, improving these pets' quality of life. And clients must be given the choice to pursue this type of therapy. Clients don't ask me to offer them less expensive options. Clients want the best. Pet owners want the best for their pets in Hong Kong, and I can provide that so long as my veterinary medical board can regulate our own profession. Hong Kong is currently in a very unique and important position with regard to global standards of veterinary practice. Veterinary medicine in the region generally lags behind Western countries by years or even decades. But Hong Kong stands out as having the potential to rise above and serve as a beacon for the profession in all of Asia. But we cannot do that unless we are able, as experts in our field, to regulate ourselves. I have to ask, what better individuals can we have representing the interests of animals than we individuals who have dedicated our lives and our training to mastering veterinary medicine and caring for them? I come back to what the pet owners of Hong Kong want. They want choice, they want the best options for their pets, and they understand, because we spend hours explaining to them and communicating with them, they understand that there are fees associated with these options that they have. They want the best for their pets, and that's what we can provide.
Next is Hong Kong Vet Services Limited, Dr. Paul Essie.
Thank you. To be honest with you, I find it laughable that we're still here and we're still debating this. I don't know what politicking is going on behind the scenes. If this was the medical board, or if this was the dental board, it would be an absolute joke. It would make the headlines of the newspaper that the medical board is trying to be pushed for one layperson to one professional. Let me make it quite clear, I don't agree with 2 veterinarians to 1 layperson. I agree with the medical council system, 7 professionals to 1 layperson. This thing about fees, okay? Why doesn't whoever is involved, Joe, whoever is pulling the strings behind the scenes, why don't you pull the fees from the UK or from Australia or from the United States and then compare the fees to Hong Kong? We have some of the cheapest fees in the world. We are actually cheaper than even the South African Veterinary Council, and that is a third world country. So please, can we please stop this thing about how expensive veterinary fees are in Hong Kong? Veterinary fees in Hong Kong are cheap. I know. I've compared them. Second of all, in all spheres of public life in Hong Kong, there's this abuse of the charities ordinance in Hong Kong. We all know this. All right? Increasing the number of lay people on the board could only be construed as a cynical attempt to shield these non-profit groups from the scrutiny that they so rightly deserve. We have all of these non-profit groups that are calling themselves non-profits. However, none of them have any standards where we have the non-profit group saying that if you earn a certain amount per month, then we will see you, etc., etc. There's no means testing with these non-profit groups. However, then you want to come in and say that private veterinarians are too expensive. I don't understand where this is coming from. Introduce a means test, and then there will be no problem with any sort of charity groups that want to open their doors. The function of the board is to regulate the profession. The function of the board is there to institute discipline if there is any terms of misconduct. How are lay people supposed to do this when they don't know the basics about surgery and medicine? We have charity groups in Hong Kong that have non-compete agreements with the veterinarians that are working for them so that they don't open up in the same area. A charity group that institutes a non-compete agreement and you want to increase the number of lay people on the board, this is laughable. The purpose of this whole thing was to increase the number of professional people on the board and make it easier for the PRC to go about conducting their business. All of a sudden, this whole process has now been hobbled, and we're concentrating on things that aren't important. The process is being hijacked. There's politicking going on behind the scenes here that nobody is looking at. Let's be honest. Thank you.
跟住香港愛護動物協會
Next, Dr. Jane Gray from the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
Proposed amendments to the Veterinary Surgeons Registration Ordinance. I have personally worked as a vet in Hong Kong for the past 23 years and have witnessed the profession grow from around 30 vets to the 600 plus registered today. It is vital that the Vet Surgeons Board keeps up with this rapid growth in the profession and the public expectations of it. We believe there's an urgent need to increase the number of board members from 10 to 19 to improve the board's capacity and efficiency in handling its responsibilities. To these ends, it's vital to maintain the current ratio of 2 to 1 vets to non-vets. When one views comparable boards worldwide, laypersons are present to provide transparency, a non-veterinary view on various matters, and ensure that public needs are met from their perspective. However, veterinary issues pertaining to the way the profession is run, such as ethics and acceptable standards of treatment, can only be judged by those with suitable training and knowledge. Veterinary surgeons are sworn by oath on qualifying to uphold their profession and act in the best interests of animal welfare. They are best placed to regulate their profession with oversight from non-veterinary members. If Hong Kong truly believes itself to be Asia's world city, then it should have a board to live up to this claim. It should be noted the ratio of vets to non-vets at 2 to 1 is well within the remits of countries such as Australia, where the ratio is generally greater than 2 to 1, up to 6 to 1, New Zealand 2.5 to 1, and the United Kingdom, where I come from, 5 to 1. In no jurisdiction is it 1 to 1. Within Hong Kong, comparable fields such as the medical and dental councils have ratios of 7 to 1 and 3 to 1 respectively. In addition, the formation of a board with only appointed members has resulted in a lack of transparency and respect. Including members directly elected by the profession in a fair and open manner would increase trust and improve the relationship between the board and local vets. The veterinary profession, with 2 well-established professional associations, is definitely mature enough for direct election. The concern regarding veterinary fees will rise with elected members is unfounded. Competition in Hong Kong dictates fees, and with currently over 160 clinics in Hong Kong, the market can be considered very mature. As my professional colleague noted in a previous session and today, Hong Kong's veterinary fees are amongst the lowest in the first world economies. In addition, the number of available preliminary investigation committees is woefully insufficient to deal with the current demand. We support increasing the number of PICs to meet this demand and at the same time expanding the number of persons sitting on each PIC to 3. In order to determine whether the defending veterinary surgeon has acted in an acceptable manner, it is vital to advice is sought from veterinary surgeons with experience in the relevant fields to the case. As such, the PIC should include 2 vets with at least 1 from clinical practice and a non-veterinary member to act on behalf of the public. If there is concern regarding a majority vote being biased towards the profession, then a unanimous decision should be required with hung votes.
Dr. Gray,
sorry,
your time is up.
Okay, I just
and
got
if you're
2
reading
words
from a script,
sorry, I just got 2 words to say.
跟住咧係香港獸醫學會Dr. Frank Lu.
Next, Dr. Frank Low from the Hong Kong Veterinary Association.
This is Frank Lowe. I'm an executive committee member of the Hong Kong Veterinary Association, the HKVA. The members of the HKVA are one of the major stakeholders in regards to changes to the Veterinary Surgeons Board. In that regard, we are greatly disappointed that the VSB ratio of veterinary members to non-veterinary members is being considered for change. The principal role of the VSB is to ensure that the veterinary profession continues to provide a high level of quality veterinary expertise to the people and animals of Hong Kong. This is achieved in many ways, such as the control of veterinary registration, implementing continual professional development program, the CPD, and investigation of complaints. However, the VSB ratio should not be structured in a manner just towards the PIC level. Although these are important roles of the Veterinary Surgeons Board, it is critical not to forget that the board itself has a much greater role, one that is to guide the direction of the veterinary profession into the future. The VSB must benefit the majority of veterinarians if it is to exert a positive influence on the direction of the veterinary profession. Therefore, the VSB must have at least a 2 to 1 ratio, vet ratio to 1, to give the board the tools and veterinary experience it needs in order to progress the veterinary profession correctly. The HKVA is of the stance that at least a 2 to 1 vet ratio should be maintained on the board and introduced to the PIC. Then the VSB can perform its many tasks in an efficient manner to benefit the entire community and the animals we care for. Thank you.
跟住下一位係呂大安獸醫。
多謝主席。
Next, Dr. Diane Lu. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and all participants. I believe many of the participants here love animals. I don't think anybody will tell me that he or she hates animals. A major task of a vet is to seek enhanced welfare for the animals. If you don't love animals, you better go to another profession. Maybe you should go to the financial services industry. I studied this discipline because I was a pet lover ever since childhood. For the moment, I'm the only vet who majors in neurology. And I bought the first MRI machine. Why is it that we introduced this machine? Because we really want to help the animals. We'd like to enhance our diagnostic ability to treat paralyzed animals and so forth. We really want to help them. Apart from our daily work, we need to upgrade ourselves as well. The VSB has promulgated some guidelines such that, like ordinary medical practitioners, we have to further studies every year to upgrade ourselves and introduce new technology such that our profession can be kept up to international standard. Of course, different costs may be involved. Sometimes it's strange. My boss may tell me, well, you save the animal first and see how we can offer a discount to a client who cannot afford the fee. So, under different circumstances, we have to face different customers, and we need to adapt to these circumstances. We'll tell our customers, oh, this surgery will cost us so much. Do you agree? If the customer does not agree, he'll be referred to other venues. Why is it that some restaurants charge you $30 for a shrimp dumpling dim sum while others charge you $60? It's because of the different factors involved. We really want to help the animals. I support the ratio of 2 to 1, or even 3 to 1. I normally work 12 to 14 hours a day. And when I take a rest, I have to attend meetings, for example, meetings of the VSB. So you really have to understand our difficulty. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Christine Ho from Cat Homing. Thank you. I'm a pet owner and I also represent cat homing today. We have homed many cats in the past many years. We don't challenge the professionalism of vets in Hong Kong, and indeed there are many good vets in Hong Kong. However, I would like to take this opportunity of the amendment to enhance the ratio of lay members in the board, because we have encountered vets that are really substandard, and when we want to complain against them, it takes a long time. Of course, it's a pressure on vets, but for pet owners, we are in constant suffering and pain, asking why our pets were not treated properly. When we are lucky, we may encounter a good vet. If not, we want to seek justice by complaining to the VSB so that we can do justice to our pets and pet owners. It's not just about fees and charges. When there's something wrong with the way of treatment, or there may be abuse of examination procedures causing unnecessary pain to pets, We want to enlarge the size of the board so that we can enhance the professionalism of vets in Hong Kong, and pet owners can be treated more fairly and openly, and there can be a better complaint handling mechanism. Thank you. Ms. Scarlett Ng from 愛狗聯盟 and Alliance for Pet Lovers. Thank you. I'm here to urge the administration to monitor the services of vet better. My pet has used vet services for over a decade. I'd like to share with you a case. Once I took my dog for vaccination at a vet. When I was waiting for my turn, I saw a dog with nostrils bleeding coming out from the surgeon room. I asked the pet owner what was the matter, and she told me that the doctor asked them to pay $3,000 first. She wanted to reconsider, so she took the dog out first. The dog was bleeding so hard, so I gave my bilking to her dog because the pet who looked after my pet was very caring. In less than a minute, nurse took that dog to the treatment room, and the nurse said the vet asked that the bleeding be stopped first before further procedures. So even in the same clinic, different vets had different care and attitude for pets. There are indeed pets or vets who will only treat a dog after payment is received. So please enhance the monitoring of pet services. So I think the ratio should be 1:1. Thank you. Mr. Lam Tek Shing, concern group for pets in Yau Chin Mong. Thank you. I represent this concern group. After reading the paper, I hope that views of the public can be heard. We have to pay high fees whenever we take our pets for treatment. I understand that rent and drug and manpower costs are high, but then that has made it very unaffordable to pet owners. And if we can have more lay members on the board, perhaps our voice can be heard better. You want to simplify the complaint handling procedures. Will this upset the current system? Of course, we want all vets to be ethical and take the welfare of animals as a priority. We are not complaining against costs only. There are vets who are charging exorbitant fees. We have no choice but to patronize them because we want our pets to grow healthily and happily. And I also want the VSB to ask the administration to subsidize non-profit making organizations so that there can be more affordable vet services. It's not that we don't want to take our pets to see a vet. It's just that we can't afford it because property prices and things are so expensive in Hong Kong, and the cost of keeping a pet is also increasing. But we are all animal lovers. I'm sure all vets are animal lovers, otherwise they would not have chosen this profession. So while you are making money for yourselves, please consider our situation. Be more transparent in your fees and charges so that we can decide whether we want to patronize you or not. The important thing is to put the health of pets as a first priority. My friend wants me to say this for him. We've got the hospital authority, and they hope that the hospital authority can oversee the services of pet clinics as well. Thank you, and we support the ratio of 1:1. Mr. Xu Tin Hong from Pet Lover. Thank you, and good morning. I represent Pet Lover. Just like other pet lovers, I am more inclined to support the ratio of 1:1, and I think this is easy to understand for consumers. I have every respect for vets and all the vets who have spoken this morning. I really respect their professionalism. Even though their professionalism is highly recognized, that doesn't mean that lay members cannot provide good advice and in the board. Just now, vet admitted that fees charged may vary from vets to vets, and I think this is also the concern of consumers. We understand that a ratio of 1:1 may not mean that there can be transparency in fees. At least we can be better represented, and we can be better represented in the board. We believe this is going to be useful. And when we are treated unfairly, and if unreasonable fees are charged, we can complain to the board. Now it takes about 60 months for a case to be handled. Do you think ordinary members of the public will be patient enough to wait for an outcome? I'm sure you have the answer. And the complaint handling procedures should be simplified, and there should be performance, something like a time frame, so that we know how much longer we have to wait. And after the bill is enacted, we want the board to follow up on the transparency of fees, because at many clinics there aren't scale fees posted at a conspicuous place. For instance, we don't know how much anesthesia is going to charge, an injection is going to charge. Very often, pet owners may hesitate to take their pets to see a clinic, to see a vet, because they're not sure about the fees and charges. There is para 17.5 of the Code of Practice requiring all clinics to post the fees and charges at a conspicuous place, but only 1 out of 10 clinics is doing that. And for others, we can only get an answer if we ask, and very often the fees can be varying. I hope that you can take care of the interests of users and enhance the transparency of fees. Thank you. Mr. An Menu from Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong. Thank you. There are more pet owners in Hong Kong, and there is an increasing demand for vet services, and so is the expectation for better services. The DAB has 5 views or 5 points to make on this matter. Now, from receipt of case to a conclusion, on average, it takes 16 months. This is far, far too long. We hope that the VSP can give us performance pledges. For instance, the time for a PIC and also for an IC to be convened, and this can enhance the efficiency. Secondly, the VSP doesn't require clinics to settle the scale fees. As a result, pet owners have no idea about the fees and charges that can easily lead to disputes. You should mandate all vets to provide a list of fees and charges for ordinary services. Thirdly, vet services are very expensive, and that is a big burden on pet owners. We want the administration to subsidize NGOs so that there can be basic services provided to pets, such as vaccination and sterilization. And we do not have any medical and beauty care training courses for local people. So there is less choice for pet owners as a result. We want subsidized training programs in our local institutions so that there can be courses on treatment and care of animals so that there can be more practitioners and diversity in services. We want more pet owners and animal lovers to be appointed to the board so that they can be better represented and they can help to enhance the service quality. Thank you. I hope members' questions or comments can focus on the ratio of 2:1. Of course, some deputations or representatives have talked about things other than this ratio, but at least I want to be more focused in this Q&A session. Please focus on this ratio of 2:1 because we have another agenda item to follow. After meeting deputations, there's a CSA proposed from the administration. I hope that today we can conclude the scrutiny of the bill so that the bill can receive a second reading and so that members have an idea of what is the deadline for moving your own CSAs. If you want to. Administration, do you have any brief response? Thank you, Chairman. A brief response. The VSB is a regulator of veterinary surgeons. It will also formulate policies for continuous development of vets, and it will be responsible for the professional conduct of vet surgeons. It has always discharged its role well. It is important that the board has sufficient expertise and professional knowledge. The administration has proposed that members representing animal welfare be appointed to the board, and we have considered the functions and operations of the board.
We also considered the views from the professionals as well as those views received in the consultation exercise. By and large, the composition proposed should be able to strike a balance so as to keep the professional standard as well as maintain public interest. We believe the ratio proposed is appropriate, and we would like to maintain the ratio of 2:1. Finally, I'd like to mention that registered vets are professionals with knowledge and experience. In order that the profession will continue to have public trust, in future, members of the board, in terms of regulating the profession as well as professional activities, should be fair and impartial as well as prudent in promoting public confidence in the profession. Well, 4 of our colleagues would like to ask questions. Dr. Chang Lai-wan, Chen Chi-chun, Paul Tse, and Sito, as well as Kenneth Chan. 5 of them. All of them are here. 5 minutes each, including questions and answers as far as possible, such that we can have time for the administration to brief us on the CSAs. Dr. Chang Lai-wan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Concerning this amendment bill, it's mainly because the administration received a lot of complaints from the public in relation to high fees and charges, unfair appeal mechanisms. Members of the public are of the view that vets are defending vets themselves. That's why the administration came up with this amendment bill. Still, we can't see how this bill can give an undertaking to the public in the enhancement of efficiency and how fees and charges are put under regulation. I believe all of us would like to know the work of the vets. At the moment, vets are not subsidized by the government. And we started to have investors joining the industry. Of course, it's good to have investors because they can help with procurement and so forth. But sometimes they charge very high fees and charges. I also received complaints from the vets themselves. They said that they spent £2 million pounds in the UK to study the discipline. But now, after 2 decades, they've not been able to pay off their debts to their parents for the £200,000 they owe their parents. So you've not done enough to protect your vets. Should we not have a more comprehensive regulatory regime? That's why this time we propose a ratio of 1:1, so that we can have more service users joining the board. Of course, some of our friends here said that the lay persons don't know enough and what has been happening in overseas jurisdictions, blah, blah, blah. But in some professional bodies in Hong Kong, the ratio is 1:1. And the global trend is that we should engage more service users. Otherwise, how can we monitor you? Do you understand? Here, I have to say that some vets are good. I believe Olivia is a very good vet with a loving heart. And for many years, Olivia has done a lot for the board. But she failed to do something that she wanted to do. So she cried in front of you and in front of the government officials because she has grievances. So we would like you to know that we don't have any special criticism against the vets or the profession. But together, we would like to make the board better. There should be adjustments such that the board and the vets can serve the public better. I have some more questions. Now, I want you to support the ratio of 2:1. What I want to say is, well, I know you only have 2 professional bodies. In Hong Kong, by and large, well, Dr. Chang, you've already spoken for over 4 minutes, and now you're throwing questions to the participants. I don't know how many questions you have. How many more minutes do you still need? I hope you can finish within 5 minutes. Well, you mentioned the appeal mechanism, the complaint mechanism, blah, blah, blah. Well, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you vets know yourselves. So how can you criticize yourselves throughout the whole world? We understand this. The doctors are defending the doctors themselves. So we would like to add in lay persons in order to strike a balance. So we would like to avoid conflict of interest. So who would you like to answer? There are 10 odd people here. Who would like to answer? Well, I'm not a vet. I'm not a vet, but I sit on the board. Sorry, I want Dr. Olivia Chan to speak first. Dr. Chang, I hope you won't make use of my personal sentiments to say something that is not realistic. You mentioned 16 months. Well, we talked and talked, but you did not understand. Yes, things are going very slowly, so we would like to bring in our professional members so as to expedite our work. We are not trying to simplify the procedures. I believe all councillors here are rational and reasonable. Well, if something is incorrect, no matter how many times you repeat it, it will remain incorrect. throughout the whole world. At most, it is 3-1 or 4-1. Dr. Chung, we are professionals, otherwise we don't need to study so much. We're not trying to protect the board. Hong Kong is a free market. We're all under cost pressure. Vets and members of the public have to face the same problem. If members of the public are not psychologically adjusted to the fact that they have to pay for vet services, then it's not a question of regulating the vets. Too many vet students are trying to join the profession. Don't talk about the number of graduates. Talk about our quality. Maintain our quality and enhance our communication with the public. And the board is working hard. You've been working hard for so many years already. Well, Dr. Chang, you have exceeded your time. Please do not have direct dialogue with the participants. Talk to me. Next, Mr. Lam, he has raised his hand. Mr. Nelson Lam. Well, I joined the board as an independent person. If you say that we are defending ourselves, it's really not fair to me. I handled many cases. I've also served as a magistrate. I can tell you, there has never been any favoritism. That term is an insult to us. Well, such evidence cannot stand in front of a court. Next, Mr. Chen Chi-chun, 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, just now you asked us to focus on the ratio of 2-1 or 1-1. But from what we heard from the deputations and individuals just now, they focus on fees and charges. Well, maybe Councillor's remarks before had led to those opinions today. The first 12 speakers supported 12-1. For the 13th vet, a lady, I believe she also supports 2-1, but she spent a great deal of time on fees and charges and investment, and eventually she didn't tell us whether she supports the ratio. Well, I think during the last 54 seconds, she mentioned that she supported that ratio. Well, do we have problems with fees and charges? Is it that vets are under no control or regulation? And by changing the ratio, well, whether it's 2-1 or 1-1, can we solve the problem? It's good that we have so many friends from the vet profession today. If you've come earlier, it would have been better. Then we'll have less controversy on the ratio of 2-1. Now, for the cases that you've handled in the hearings, were they mostly about fees and charges or professionalism? Well, my friends told me that by and large, the complaints were about fees and charges. They are not convinced. So they went to the VSB. Well, maybe we resolve this. Professor, you're the chairman. Don't you have the figures here? I don't have the figures here, but according to my own experience, well, I've been serving as the chairman of the board for 1 odd years only. Of course, behind each complaint, there's a story. Well, first of all, is the pet owner who is not satisfied with the service that he or she receives from the vet. Maybe it's about diagnosis, treatment, other professional matters, or fees and charges. But amongst the complaints handled by us, for professional standards, services, etc., our PIC as well as IP will mainly focus on professionalism rather than fees and charges. Dr. Olivia Chan, you have some figures. Well, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'll speak. For fees and charges, from 2010 to 2014, we mentioned 17.4 and 17.5 in the code in relation to regulation. 17.4 about excessive fees, 17.5 failing to produce a detailed list to the customers. In 2010, 2 out of 63 cases. That is 3%. 2011, 2 out of 71 cases, 2.8%. Failure to list the figures, 0 cases. 2012, 2 out of 54 cases, that is 3.7%. For Section 17.5, 1 out of 54, 1.8%. 2013, no complaint about fees and charges. 2014, 3 out of 59 cases, that is 5%. Unclear fees and charges, 0 cases. Well, Mr. Chairman, my second question is very simple. I just want to do a survey. My vet friend told me that if this ratio of 2 to 1 is to be changed to 1 to 1, then the government should withdraw the amendment bill. And he asked me to cast a dissenting vote. Well, if that ratio is to be changed, the friends here, would you like to have status quo? Can I have a show of hands? I finished my question, Mr. Chairman. Well, but that's not for them to decide. It's a decision for the government. Dr. Chiang, would you please help me by remaining quiet? Mr. Pote, let me declare my background, which may be related to my remarks. I studied vet for a year before studying law and accountancy, and I've been a practicing barrister for a number of years, and now I'm a practicing solicitor. I also participated in a lot of disciplinary hearings. And for 8 to 10 years, I've been having litigation with the Law Society.
So the question is, how does the regulation of this profession in Hong Kong compared with other places? Are we too tight? Are we too strict or too lenient? And how does this profession compare with other professions? With due respect, other professions require a longer training period and investment, so to speak. All right, now we talk about the medical sector, architects and dentists and lawyers, all right? So I think this ratio of 2 to 1 is already rather low. For other professions, take the bar or the law society as an example, they don't have any lay members at all in their disciplinary committees. I think they believe it is necessary to maintain the professionalism of their sector. However, indeed, there is a trend to shift from self-regulation to more participation from the public. So I believe 2 to 1 is an appropriate direction. The biggest problem with veterinary services is very often the subject of a complaint is an animal which cannot speak for itself. So its owner is its advocate. And this is different from other professions where the victim can speak out for himself. And this has added uncertainty because so many species are involved. We may only think of cats and dogs and horses, but sometimes it can be a goldfish, a tortoise, or birds. They also need medical treatment, and this has added to the difficulties of the trade. And even for dogs, there are different species, and their anatomy can be entirely different. So, in terms of training and investment, veterinary surgeons are more expensive than other professions. So if you insist the lay members be party to a disciplinary hearing, it may not be a very appropriate balance. Many consumers, including Dr. An Jiang, would like to see enhanced regulation. But I don't think this can be done by increasing the number of lay members. Rather, we should think of transparency and communication. Perhaps we should relax the control over advertisements. The profession should enhance transparency so the consumers can make informed choices and there can be fair competition so that the profession can do a better job in self-profession. Perhaps this is better than changing the ratio, because this change in ratio cannot tackle the problem of exorbitant fees or not enough supervision, and also the low pay received by new graduates. I fail to see the logic in this proposal to amend the ratio. Now, because of time constraints, I do not require any answers. I just want to say that this ratio of 2 to 1 is already rather low. If we enlarge the proportion of lay members, it may not be helpful, and therefore I hope we can maintain this ratio. At least we can review the situation in the future. And let it be so now. Ms. Ho. Thank you, Chairman. Deputations have commented on two points. First, whether complaints are handled, dealt with properly or fairly, and second, the high fees and charges. Well, of course, in all professions, there are bound to be bad apples, and people can complain. And for those who are for ratio of 1 to 1, how can you see that by increasing the proportion of lay members, you can lower rent and reduce training fees of veterinary surgeons so as to lower costs? And can we deal with this first? All right, please reply in 1 minute. All right. And may I remind you that for those who are for a ratio of 1 to 1 or higher, well, 3 have left already. Only 2 remain. So perhaps we've only got Ms. Ho. Well, please don't use my time, Chairman. Ms. Ho, you are for more lay members. If yes, can you please take this question in 1 minute? Thank you. Ms. Ho, I'm not saying that by increasing the proportion of lay members, we can lower fees. I do agree that there are great variations when it comes to fees. We just want that by increasing the proportion of lay members, there can be more transparency so that lay members, professionals who are not vets, can help to enhance the transparency of the complaint handling mechanism and also to boost public confidence in this mechanism. Of course, if there can be a clearer conclusion on fees and charges, it will be even better. But even for doctors treating men, there are also variations in fees and charges. We just want to enhance the proportion of lay members so as to protect the interests of consumers, or rather to protect the interests of pet owners. Pet owners are pets are our family. We want to protect their interests. Ms. Ho, I agree that transparency and public confidence is also an issue. And according to Mr. Lam, or Dr. Lam, the hearings are actually open, and that is already better than a medical council where they have hearings in camera and council members only come out to meet the press after a decision is made. And I know a complainant may be emotionally charged because he really cares for his pet, and he may not be able to accept a finding very calmly. So how can you enhance transparency to let the public feel that the whole process is fair? Which one would you want to take that question? The industry. Professor Ching? The VSB always wants to provide the best professional services to vets, to pets and pet owners. Any constructive recommendations or suggestions will be considered by us as to how we can enhance the openness and transparency of our work. We are willing to review our mechanism, as mentioned by a number of speakers. At various stages, we welcome lay members to be present in attendance in every meeting of our board. We have an open session where members of the public are welcome to sit in attendance. And for cases, they take a long time to conclude. I think we've already explained to you some of the reasons. So we are willing to review our current situation to see how we can enhance our service level so that members of the public can be more confident in us. Yes, I think members of the public, in fact the complainant in particular, will feel that you are favoring or covering your own trade industry members. So I think you have to think of ways to allay their concerns. Professor Ching, I believe you have heard what Mr. Posey said. For instance, while you have not received too many complaints about fees and charges, can you be more transparent? And your meetings and investigations and hearings should be more transparent and done more expeditiously. If you cannot give us a reply now, Professor Ching, since you are the chairman, please discuss among your board. And if there is any decision, please let us know in writing. We're happy to do that. I think Dr. Kenneth Leung wants to say something. I thought he was indicating that the chairman of the board would like to speak. Anyway, Dr. Lam. Thank you, Chairman. Well, there is the perception on the part of the complainant that we are not being fair. I'd like to say that veterinary surgery is a science and it's no different from a study of law, and an inquiry must be evidence-based. Dr. Lam, can you please stick to either Cantonese or English? Yes. We have to use our professional knowledge and make evidence-based decision. Well, first I studied medicine in Hong Kong U. I didn't start off as a vet, and a doctor sitting on the board may consider whether the use of medication in a particular case is right. And we've also got an expert witness to give us expert advice, and the complainant is also there in the presence of an inquiry, and the DOJ has also got counsel and a solicitor to serve as the prosecution. So usually in a hearing, we have two lawyers from the DOJ, so that should be very fair. And all information and professional knowledge is required to read all the papers, and we're open to the public. The complainant, meaning the pet owner, is present, and the accused is also present, and the whole setup is very open and fair. by far. Everyone knows what's happening, and the complainant is entitled to lodge a complaint if it's not happy with our findings. We have an appeal mechanism, and the decision is also put down in writing. Dr. Lam, I think that's about it. Okay. Dr. Kenneth Chen. Chairman, thank you. I thank the deputations for sharing with us experience and professional understanding this morning. From time to time, we have different comments on veterinary services from different sectors. This morning, we heard about not enough transparency, unreasonable fees and charges, unfair treatment, and undue long investigation time, so on and so forth. I think to a certain extent we agree that there are problems in this area, and we want to see how improvements can be made to promote the development of the industry so as to enhance protection for pet owners and consumers. So these are very real issues, and we should look at practical ways to improve this situation. But will changing the ratio of 2-to-1 be an answer to these questions? After a hearing of the comments this morning and after thinking about it, I don't believe this is the solution. Changing the ratio will not directly address these problems, and therefore we have to be very cautious. If this is not the solution, then how can we enhance the regulation of veterinary surgeons? How can we ensure that fees and charges are more reasonable? How can we ensure that complaint handling can be done more effectively and efficiently and more openly? In future, there will be elected members, and there will be more resources to strengthen the roles and functions of the board. I think some resources should be spent on enhancing communication with animal welfare organizations. I think even for animal welfare groups that ask for a ratio of 1.1 will not say no to better communication. And I think in opening up the whole system, this is an inevitable step. You have to find a way to keep increasing, enhancing the standard of professional service. And on the other hand, we should also seek better protection for members of the public. And this should also be felt by the consumers. And I hope that this can be done after this reform. And therefore, we have been asking the administration whether secretariat support can be enhanced. Perhaps you need to employ more legal advisors, and there should be enhanced communication with complainants. If you just send a very cold email or letter to a complainant, he may feel rather bad about it. That may not be the best treatment a complainant deserves. So it is an excellent opportunity because we have many members of the board present. Even the chairman of the board is here. I'm sure they've heard our comments. I hope that after the bill is enacted, the vet can see how they can improve perception.
We have to work hard to reduce the gap. Well, I've heard a lot of problems today in terms of the complaint mechanism, animal welfare, fees and charges, etc. But I don't think a change in the ratio can solve those problems. After listening to so many views, to strike a balance, to maintain 2-to-1 should be the solution. And we should have a broader representatives among the vets. We would like to assist the board to resolve different views. Maybe They need to enhance communication with different groups and to enhance the image of the profession. Dr. Chang Lai-wan, I think I have to draw a line after you. We have to handle the administration CSA as well. So, Dr. Chang, would you please be cooperative? 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, I have to say here that even in Hong Kong, we're discussing universal suffrage. Now, the vets are serving the public, so we should have some form of regulation for them. Supposedly, the duty of the board is to regulate the vets. But now you're going back to the olden days in which more vets are to regulate the vets themselves. So you're proposing vets regulating vets. I am not trying to overrule or overturn your suggestion, but why can't we have this ratio of half-half? I'm not actually saying that vets are defending vets. But I think we all understand the general phenomenon. I'm not trying to offend or insult any of you. I'm not. And no vet has ever offended me, so I'm not trying to have any conflict with any vet. This is the first occasion on which I have this encounter with vets. Dr. Chang, would you please not use Chinglish in your remarks? For fees and charges, can you try to reduce fees and charges? I understand that in your profession there are some problems. There are locks. Well, you cannot simply compare yourselves with the medical practitioners, that is the medical association, because medical practitioners charge different levels of fees and charges, and some members of the public can turn to the government for services. Now, we're not talking about lawyers, accountants, etc., etc. Now, we're talking about life, animal life. If you charge too low a fee, you may not be able to provide adequate quality services. But if you charge too high a fee, some members of the public may not be able to afford it. So before we take this big step forward, the administration should talk to them first and try to resolve the problem. I think the VSB is a very important body. Well, Mr. Vincent Cole, the Bureau Director, is trying to help you. I also talked to Mr. Wong Yok-san. I also tried to talk to the incumbent chairman, Professor Ching, and even Olivia. I had been talking to you once even up to after 10 p.m. I'm not having a conflict with you. I haven't met most of you before. Dr. Chang, I really cannot tolerate your remarks like that. Would you please just use English or Chinese? Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman. This is a feature of Hong Kong people. No, I reminded the deputations and individuals right from the very beginning that they should use purely English or purely Chinese. Otherwise, if you use a mixture of Chinese and English, the interpreters won't be able to interpret for you. Now, Mr. Chairman, I would like to respect the vets such that they have a better development in future. At the same time, I'd like to assist members of the public because at the moment, some of them have to bear high fees and charges. Now, just now, I saw a lot of hands. You want the government to withdraw the amendment bill so that you can start your discussion afresh. Well, I support your decision. What decision? What decision? Well, just now one of our colleagues asked them whether or not they would support the government withdrawing the amendment bill if the ratio is to be changed to 1:1. But they did not actually ask the government to withdraw the amendment bill because we may have 2:1. Well, Dr. Chang, I'm not trying to debate with you. I don't want you to mislead them. Just now, our colleague asked them if, now there is this assumption, if the ratio is changed from 2:1 to 1:1, will they support the government withdrawing the amendment bill? That's why they raised their hands. Oh, yes, I know, but I think it may be a good thing for the government just to withdraw the amendment bill. Well, that's your opinion. So I'd like to thank the attending deputations and individuals today. We'll continue with the remaining items on the agenda, and the deputations and individuals can be excused. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, the administration is to respond to the issues raised. All the responses are in 370(02), as well as the annexes. Well, we have 20 more minutes to go, so administration, would you please take us through that paper? Thank you, Chairman. I will first of all introduce the supplementary paper to you. At the meeting on the 12th of January, the Bills Committee studied a number of aspects and asked us for supplementary information. In accordance with 28(1), we suggested that the SFH would, in terms of electing members to the board, promulgate a regulation. At the last discussion, we discussed that proposal that six should be the cap of the number of candidates. And at the last meeting, members also offered some comments. So at the last meeting, we submitted a paper to say that we'll duly note the proposal of the Bills Committee. That is, each elector can only nominate one candidate and vote for one candidate only. Last time we undertook to duly consider the Bills Committee's proposal. The administration now suggests that that position be explicitly stated during the second reading debate. The electoral law will be another piece of legislation. By then, we'll consult the profession and the public again, as well as the relevant panel of the LegCo in the legislative amendments. And at the last discussion, members asked the administration, well, in fact, it's Dr. Chang Lai-wan asking the administration to change the ratio from 2:1 to 1:1 between vets and non-vets. In fact, in our opening remarks, we've already offered a response to that discussion, so I won't repeat the information in the paper. Thirdly, for the CSAs submitted by the administration, in fact, at the last meeting, the consideration of the administration was already explained to members. The law draftsman has completed the drafting of the CSAs, so we have annexed the proposed CSA to the paper. As for drafting issues and legal issues, I understand that our law draftsman has had some discussions with your legal advisor, and they basically agree with each other. Well, most amendments are technical in nature. The major amendment is related to Clause 11 of the bill in relation to the new Section 17D, in relation to the PIC. That is for the 3-member PIC, whether or not the decision is to refer to the inquiry committee or otherwise, the decision has to be a unanimous decision among the 3 members. So there must be consensus among the 3 members before a referral or otherwise. If there's no unanimous decision, the case will be referred to the board for a final decision as to whether or not a referral to the inquiry committee should be made. So that's our proposed amendment to 17D. Originally, there could be a direct referral from the PIC to the IC. Consequently, we need to add a 17E. If the board receives such a referral from the PIC, what the board needs to do. And the other amendments are also consequential amendments. There's also a new technical amendment in relation to 16.3 of the bill to amend Schedule 2. This is to make the draft clearer. It has nothing to do with the content of the bill. So much for my introduction. Any questions from members?
Ms. Hidho, thank you. I understand that the administration has a proposed amendment, but I think it has not covered the following area. So please consider whether this can be adopted in this final stage. Someone from the profession agreed that some fees were too high, and under the code of practice, they're not allowed to take advertisement. They cannot list out the fees in their advertisements. So on the one hand, we want our fees and charges to be transparent, and on the other hand, they're not allowed to solicit customers. Their list of fees and charges can only be displayed at the clinic. But take the case mentioned today, the dog was really bleeding from his nostrils. How could the pet owner shop for cheaper services at that stage? So can that be allowed? But this is not really related to the bill. Whether the administration wants to do or not, it can be dealt with at a later stage. But can the administration reply as to whether the secretary can respond to this point in his second reading speech? Thank you. In response to the question by Ms. Hidho and the foregone discussion, the administration is willing to propose 2 administrative measures in his second reading speech. In response to people's concern about handling of complaints and also transparency of fees. First, to ask the board to review the fees and charges of veterinary services, and second, to enhance the transparency of fees and charges. For instance, can the board give any reference on fees and charges? And we will discuss with the VSB, and this will be mentioned in the Secretary's second reading speech. And regarding the time frame for dealing with complaints, we will ask whether the board can give any performance pledge. For instance, the time for a case to be referred to the PIC or to the IC, and as members have heard from the chairman of the board just now, that he is willing to consider that with his board members. So the secretary will say something in his second reading speech. Ms. Sido, any follow-up? Speakers off mic. Thank you. Legal advisor. Clause 9.2, there is an amendment. Can the administration please explain this amendment to clause 9.2? It relates to section 18.1 of the ordinance. We propose to amend it to 17D3. We propose to change it to 13D3A, or rather 18.1A. I think the most accurate reference should be 18.1A. That is cross-referencing of the two provisions. Is that okay, legal advisor? Regarding the format of the Chinese text, I'll discuss with the DOJ outside this meeting. Yes, please take it up with our DOJ. All right, Ms. Sito, Dr. Ann Jiang has just left. I don't want her to think that I've ambushed her. But anyway, I want to end the meeting. Ms. N, Dr. Jiang proposed or submitted a CSA last time, but it was not really a CSA. Yes, it was not the format of a CSA. Well, she has just returned. So I want any proposed CSAs to be as proper format for our consideration. I get your point, but I have not received any before this meeting. For two reasons, I decided to defer this discussion until today. First, whether Dr. Ann Jiang would like to move her own amendments, because last time I asked all political parties which were present as to the position on the ratio of 2-to-1. There was no clear indication last time, but I'd like to say here that the LP supports the ratio of 2-to-1. So given this situation, Dr. Ann Jiang will have to move her own amendments if she still wants to, because last time we did not know whether it should be done by herself or by the chairman on behalf of the BC. So if we want another meeting to consider proposed amendments by members, do we have any slot available? Now, if all along we want the board to have more members, and even if the bill is enacted now, it will still be next year before the new setup can be put in place. So I don't want members to, or don't want the community to wait longer. Now, it's been over 10 days since the last meeting, but we've yet to see any CSA tabled by Dr. Ann Jiang. The reason why I haven't got my own CSA is because I still want to lobby members. So as you've heard just now, Chairman, I've met with all members of the VSB. I've also met with the former and incumbent chairman, and just last week I met them until over 10 p.m. one evening. So I just want to tell them that because we are amending the ordinance, we should address the concerns of the community at large, because it's very pathetic. People who have the means can take his cat or dog to see a vet, no matter how expensive it is. But what about ordinary members of the public? In some Shui-Po, there are elderly persons who have only a cat or a dog to keep them company. Do you know that they have to take their cat or their pet to see a doctor even if they skip a meal? All right, now is your time to tell us about your CSA. All right, I'm explaining to you why I have yet to submit my own CSA, because I have always I've been trying to lobby Pan-Democrats and also members of the pro-establishment camp, and the position is now clear. You just stated your position on behalf of the LP, and so has the Civic Party. And I don't know whether the Labour Party has made any decision. We welcome members from any political party to move their own CSA. No, I think she's asking you whether you are for the ratio of 2-to-1 or 1-to-1. I'm afraid I can't support the ratio of 1-to-1 because it will not address the problem. And that was also the view of Mr. Chen Chi-chun. And one present here is not supportive of this proposal. Anyway, I support the members' right to move their CSA. Chairman, if I have got the majority support of members, of course I will move my amendment. But it's clear that members have no regard for public response. They have they want to support vets, although the members of the public are saying that fees are too expensive. Well, the vets present here are charging highest fees in the community. Well, we don't have enough time. I don't want to reopen the debate with you whether not supporting this ratio of 1-to-1 is totally oblivious of the plight of pet owners. But you're not resolving the problem. No, I'm asking you whether you are going to move your CSA or not. Now you're saying that you don't know whether you want to do it. No, I didn't say that I didn't know whether I would move any CSA or not. I'm lobbying so that I can get enough support from members of a conscience. Now this is my time. You allow me to speak. Didn't you invited me to speak? Now this is my time. I don't want you to interrupt. But you asked me to speak. All right, I'm done now. All right. If you say my time's up, I won't speak anymore. You can have the floor to yourself. Well, if there is time, you can speak, but let me finish first. All right. Dr. Kenneth Chen, you still want to speak or no? Okay. We have not received any proposed CSAs or draft CSAs from members. And there is no request for further meetings to consider colleagues' CSAs, and no colleagues have mentioned any draft CSAs from themselves. So I believe we have completed the work of the Bills Committee. All right. I'd like to tell the administration, plans to resume the second reading debate of the bill on the 25th of May or the 18th. Either the 18th or the 15th of March. And if the administration goes by the 18th of March, the deadline for giving report to the HC is the 27th of February, and Deadline for the administration to give notice, the 3rd of March. And deadline for member CSA is the 9th of March. That is assuming that the second reading debate will be on the 18th of March. Can the administration tell us whether that's the date you prefer? Yes, we're inclined to use the 18th of March. All right. The 27th of February, report to the House Committee. The 3rd of March, deadline for the administration to give notice. It can be no later than the 3rd of March. And any intention to propose amendments, the deadline to give notice is the 9th of March. Okay? If there are no AOB items, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.